The crypto market is green again, and the portfolios of most of us are recovering. Bitcoin as well as altcoins are going up once more, and traditionally, this is the phase of the market where explosive gains, massive gains, are made over a very short period of time. And I think it's necessary to look at where we are in the market right now, to look at news, and also to look at the indicators to determine when the best part of the market is coming and when potentially we could be looking at taking profits, and whether a top is close for Bitcoin or if it is rather one full year out. So make sure to stay all the way through this video. So hey everyone, and Merry Christmas. It's a patient toddler coming at you with a quick video on the crypto market, quick market update. If you enjoy these quick updates, then smash up the like button, subscribe to the channel with notifications on, and let's jump right in. So I'm very sorry for the poor audio and video quality here, because I'm just at a notebook sitting somewhere in Brazil making this video for you guys. But I think since the last updates from the beach, there has been a lot of discussion in the comments about whether the cycle top is closer right now or if it's still far out and we don't have to take any action. So let's analyze this a little bit. We're looking here at Bitcoin at the moment. Bitcoin has been correcting quite a bit from 108,000 all the way down to 92,200, a little bit more even, depending on where you look at the exchange. And it's about a 15% correction, so nothing unusual for Bitcoin, but obviously it hurts in a portfolio because when Bitcoin corrects, altcoins correct harder, and some altcoins have been correcting 30% or more. So if you're very altcoin heavy, obviously that did hurt. However, we broke the downtrend. We are out here on the 4-hourly chart, and we look at something that at least looks at a reversal. Right, so we can see that the price is coming up a little bit, and we will see in the following, in the news, and also what has happened in the last cycles, that this could be already the start of this massive move where the gains are coming. Now, in the last video, in the last videos, I said we could be, depending on some of the indicators like RSI and TSI, which we're going to look at in a second as well, could be closer to a top. When I am saying we could be closer to a top, I was saying this up here, by the way, I'm not saying that we are going a little blip of 2 days and then we top out. You know, from if you're following Crypto Morning Coffee, if you are subscribed to the channel, you know that I am usually looking at monthly charts. So being close to the top is a couple of months, not a couple of hours, right? So keep that in mind when I am saying that we could be closer to a top. Now we will look at why that could be in a second, and we're also going to look at some evidence against that, and in the following days we will provide more evidence for and against that, so that you can have a wholesome picture here. But let's really switch this up to the monthly chart, which is, I'm sorry for that, full of lines here, and we are going to look at some indicators. But if we're looking at the monthly, first of all, it is to note that we are green on the monthly, right? Even though it feels like if we're down and so on, the whole month is a green candle with a long wick to the upside, indicating that there has been a certain degree of selling pressure after this massive move to the upside. Is nothing unusual. Then a good look at the TSI, which is still heading upwards. We see there's still space. So when I'm saying we're coming closer to a top based on the TSI, which as we can see here is this indicator here, total strength index, showing that there is a potential valid trend line coming here from the tops of this TSI, marking the exact top of the market. And we see that this TSI is moving very, very quickly, implying that if we would continue to move at this pace, then we could see a top like we saw it in the last cycle already in February. Now I know there are a lot of arguments against this, and I agree, but still we should just note the fact that at this pace we would do that. If we have a more corrective move or so, or if we close the month a little bit lower, this could slow down and it could prolong a couple of months, right? But this happens if you're looking at the monthly. You also have to wait until the monthly is closed. right? So we are seeing the TSI there. So if we are looking at the TSI here, for example, we see that the TSI top has been marked here, right? Exactly at this previous top. Now, some people say, are you an idiot? In the last cycle, we also only topped out in November, December, end of the year, right? That is factually true, but tell me, if you could take profits, would you rather take profits here, right? In this already good profits on Bitcoin? Or would you wait all this time, another full year, to take 2 to 3% more here, instead of 69,000 being the top, or 64,000 being the top, the couple of thousand difference, right? It is true that this has been a higher top, but all the indicators did scream that this was already the real top. Now, this was a strange cycle, and if you look cycle before that, we can see here that, for example, also with the high RSI, that had you sold on a high RSI here, you would have sold somewhere here before the real parabolic gains would have been made, and that was this a similar structure where you have here beginning to mid of the year an RSI topping, and then you have another top out here, which is why even if you say we could have the situation like here, you don't have to move out of your entire position, right? Locking in profits, nor do you have to move out of your entire position here, but you could have taken profits in case it doesn't turn out that way. If you look in hindsight, it's always easy to say, oh, you could have just waited until here. But remember, if you were here in the cycle already, remember how it felt to go down over 50% and not knowing if this will come back or if this was already and you missed the move, right? No one knew that this would come back and just put in a little blip higher. And then also the next warning, all these narratives that we are seeing right now, that, oh, we could 10x from here, and I ensure you, if we 3x'd, it will still be we could 10x from here, right? So all these narratives we already had up here when it was close to 69,000. It was, wow, we're turning around, we put in a new all-time high, and now it's the super cycle, next station going 100k. And what happened is you turned around and you went into a bear market where everyone, including myself, thought that we would go higher, and I for myself decided to learn from that. So let's check out a little bit of news and then go into the rest of the market. So, of course, there's a lot of doubt and FUD in the market. So I would say these are very good indicators for us to go much, much higher, right? Because usually when everyone is sure that there is a super cycle and everything is going higher, then we are not going higher. But right now it's more like some people already think the top is in, some people already think that's it. That is usually a good sign that there is more to come, right? So let's see here what the bullish or the bullish underlying news are. For example, El Salvador has shifted the strategy from buying 1 Bitcoin per day to buying 11 Bitcoin on several days already. They've taken a 3.3 billion loan from the International Monetary Fund and used it to buy Bitcoin despite the IMF saying that they should stop this procedure. So they're really not giving a damn about the recommendation of the IMF. They just take the money and they buy Bitcoin with it, following the same strategy as MicroStrategy. If this works out, it could make El Salvador one of the richest countries in the world over the next couple of decades, right? If it fails, if the whole thing fails, then they get wrecked, right? That's basically it. But looking at how the adoption at the moment goes, it is a valid strategy to go for such a country. Other countries hesitate, they will take a little bit longer. We will see if the US making the first move or if it will be other countries that are going to make the first move in declaring official strategic reserves of that magnitude of either the empire, which is the US, or the aspiring empires, which is China or Russia or whoever, right? So what we're also seeing is, for example, this Canadian company, just like the Japanese company Metaplanet, publicly traded Matador Technologies approves to purchase 4.5 million Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset, as well as MicroStrategy going for another round of investment of around 10.3 billion US dollars to put it in Bitcoin. So financial engineering to acquire the most Bitcoin possible, right? Same thing as we saw from El Salvador here. MicroStrategy is also trying to get as much money as possible to go hard into Bitcoin. At the same time, it's interesting, we just saw the biggest outflow of BlackRock spot ETF in the history. Usually we only see inflows. Not sure exactly why it is happening. I don't think we have to be worried already because of that, because we see the behavior from other companies that are scooping that up quickly. Once we see a turnaround, probably we see inflows as well, as many people that are going through BlackRock spot ETF also are new to crypto and are probably going to be driven by these large volatilities, either feared out or liquidated out of their positions. So I think it's just normal that after large moves we also have larger outflows and then followed by large inflows again in Q1. We will see it in a second as well. And then we have this just in from today: Russia to increase Bitcoin use in 2025. The finance minister of Russia says Bitcoin transactions are already occurring and they believe they should be expanded and developed further. Confident that it's going to happen next year. So also that is bullish. Now let's take a look at the overall yearly performance of Bitcoin, which gives us a clearer picture, right? And that also screams there is more upside. So we usually have 1 to 3 yearly candles for Bitcoin, then one bear market candle, and then 1 to 3 green candles again, where the halving year is already always here in the middle. So what we have right now is 1, 2 green candles, the third green candle supposedly next year. So one thing seems to be very clear: if history repeats the way that it usually does, then we are going to get another green candle in the next year, meaning we are not at the end of the profits. But also we see here on these wicks on the upside that already in that third year there is already a sell-off from the max price occurring, indicating that this candle doesn't close at all-time highs usually, but already starts to go into bear market within that year. So 2025 probably going to be a green candle, hopefully one of that magnitude here, into the next year, and then probably closer to the end of the year the biggest gains have been already made and sell-off is happening. So could it be that the 500-day rule is once again correct and we top out in the 2nd of September? It could very well be. Another prediction is here from the Bitcoin Liquid Index. You see that the predictions are ranging really high. Here it basically says we are going to 257,000 US dollars. I would be careful with these predictions because they have been around in the last cycle as well. There the prediction was based on stock to flow, implying 100 to 150,000. We fell almost 50% short of that prediction, so we need to be very careful as if these indicators would be 100% correct and predict the future, everyone would act upon those exact indicators, right? But we see different signs coming out of different indicators. And then we see here, if we compare the last cycles, that in fact, if history repeats again, most of the gains are going to be made right now, have been already made, and will occur, the biggest part of the gains, in Q1. We see it here. Look at the last cycle. Basically the biggest gains were over in Q1, right? And then of course there was the other push to the second high, but the gains that have been made until the end of Q1. Q2 was consolidation and crash. In the 2 cycles ago, it was a little bit different. Most of the gains have been made from Q1 into Q2, and then some corrective move, and then even more, right? So we see the 2 cycles did behave differently, but fact is we had up in Q1 and Q2 in the 2017 cycle. So it's going to be on other indicators, not only on the quarters, to tell us when exactly we are going to have the maximum gains. And a big part of that will be altcoins, of course, and the Bitcoin dominance, right? Another part will be indicators like the RSI, the TSI, the MVRVZ score, and so on. If we're looking at Christmas as something like a starting point, we see that in all of the cycles, after Christmas was a very, very good time for the altcoins, right? So we see here basically an altcoin season happening in 2017, starting with Christmas, and an altcoin season happening also in the last cycle, starting from Christmas. And this time we are also in this corrective zone and Christmas is now one day over. We will see how we're going to behave. Could we see altcoin pumps in the following? Now, what could be the reasons for that? First of all the younger people get Christmas presents from the older people. They can ape it into crypto. Secondly, everyone is telling their entire family about the crypto gains that they made. At least their Bitcoin gains will be visible, or their meme coin gains, right? So maybe there could be another meme coin run in the next couple of days and weeks, because most people will show, hey, I made so much money on Pepe Bonk, right? Something like that. So there might be an explosion out of the entire crypto market cap, a mixture of Bitcoin, altcoins, and so on, because new people are going to enter the market based on what they've been shilled. Plus new money, plus year-end bonus, plus free time to research and go into crypto and so on, watching YouTube and so on. So we will be curious if this after Christmas phase will be looking as good. What is very good for an indicator for a big upside is that basically the funding fees have been resetted. So the more orange that is, the more overheated is the market in terms of leverage trading and liquidity. So we see that liquidity here after the 9th of December has been completely wiped out. The funding is flipped to negative, even though that we're in a bull market. If this is not the signal to buy, then no one knows what else could be. Now, I personally, I'm saying I have my bags and I'm good, but these big corrections, these retests, they could be an option to buy for the short term, to then take big profits in a very short term, to not hodl into the bear market, but to take more short-term action. Now let's see for a little bit of an argument why we could be in the last phase. And always remembering, last phase for me means there could be still 3, 4, 5 months of upside, right? Depending on how fast we are moving and how exaggerated. But look at this. This is the long-term hodl net position change. So basically, long-term holders, are they buying or are they selling? If it's green, long-term holders are buying. If it's red, long-term holders are selling. So we see every time the price went into the parabolic phase or a pre-parabola, long-term holders started to lock in profits, right? So we see here in the last cycle, in the end of this market, in the last move up, and that last move up was still doubling the price, these long-term holders were selling. And even on the previous one, so we see that here and also here at our 73 ETF high from the beginning of the year, we saw a long-term holder sell off. Then they were buying again massively in this long 6-7 month drawdown. Now they're selling again. So that selling didn't reach yet the levels that it had in the previous years close to the top, but it is already starting. So long-term holders are already selling into new hands, and we need to be very careful, because also that says this happens in a fairly quickly time. So I would say this happens over Q1 and Q2, and then we could be there already, right? So mid of the year, we could be seeing this indicator in absolute peak territory, right? It's only a projection. Don't get mad at me. I'm not your financial nanny, so you take your own decisions, right? So make sure to take. One of the big head scratches for me is the DXY. Usually, what benefits Bitcoin the most is a DXY that is falling. But what we see is the DXY has taken out all these highs here and is actually moving higher. So I am anticipating still that at some point the financial bazooka treatment will come out of the central banks, not only lowering rates, but actively printing and injecting money, refinancing the debt, because there's no other way. Either you go default broke or you refinance the debt through fresh money. So at some point the DXY should devalue. At the moment it's valuing because other banks like European Central Bank and other countries are moving faster, devaluing their currency faster than the dollar devalues, so the dollar in comparison to these other currencies going up. And lastly, looking at this, here we have the altcoin season in a very nicely drawn chart. We're going to show it as well, but what is really clear here, rising wedge, a bearish retest on the downside, and subsequently over the next couple of months we will see altcoins probably explode very hard, right? So that is definitely something to look at. Now I want to go back to Bitcoin once more because I really want to hammer home the point of the RSI and why I'm saying that we need to be very careful here depending on how we are moving. So look at the RSI from all the cycles here, and if you're drawing a line on top, you have a slightly downward sloping line, right? So you see that for the RSI here, we are sitting at 76 at the moment. Usually where the RSI goes is about 90, right? So here we see it's a little bit more than 90 and so on, slightly downward sloping for the RSI. So we could say maybe this one doesn't even reach 90 or reaches very close to 90. This is the space of the RSI that I anticipate that this is still room for explosion. So when I'm saying we might be more to the end of the move, it's time-wise, right? Because if we would move sharply as here, it could be in a matter of 2-3 months, right? We see it in this cycle, for example, that we reached it and then we reached it again with massive more upside, right? So the RSI alone will also not tell us where we are exactly in terms of profit taking. You could still lose 50% of the move based on that. But the RSI going to that point would be still an indicator that we would be more to the end of the move, and together with the performance of the altcoins, it will give a clearer picture, right? But keep in mind, as long as this RSI is that low, I'm not worried about the profit taking. But it could happen very quickly, right? You can see a monthly go-out candle and suddenly you are at an RSI of 88 or something like that, right? So yeah, and then going back to altcoin season here, let's switch to the weekly chart so we see it a little bit better. We're having this bearish retest, and it's actually similar to what we were expecting here, only that it went higher and not sideways. In all altcoin seasons, we saw that, look at this here, that the time in which the gains are made is very short, right? So here, for example, it's only 120 days. That's 3 months, right? So that's only a quarter of the year. That's all of the gains that have been made. And after that, it's already the topping out phase. Doesn't mean that some altcoins don't lag behind and explode later, but collectively, the gains are made very quickly once this is in free fall. So we need to keep an eye on that. Right now we see our altcoins are looking great despite the Bitcoin dominance being that high. So let's see how it develops. We're expecting this to fall a little bit harder. It will only fall once the USDT dominance, which we are monitoring here, is ready with its recent bounce, right? So this was capital flowing out of the market. We're expecting to have a flow back into the market latestly from the beginning of January, when people are done with the tax harvesting from now and move the capital back into the market. Interesting is also total 2. I'm taking the total 2 for the altcoin comparison first because I want to show the following. This is with Ethereum, right? So, and Ethereum is starting to outperform Bitcoin, at least for now. So we see some kind of a turnaround, bringing us to phase 2 of the altcoin season, or of the crypto cycle, where Ethereum is performing better, right? Our target for total 2 is to go to 2 trillion first, taking out the all-time high, the previous all-time high. I think it's a perfect picture, right? You have this cup and handle, you have the breakout, the retest, and now you would go, right? This is on the weekly scale. So here's your retest, basically complete. So next, you should be going up. Maybe you form another small red candle or something like that, but next you should be going up, at least into the next year. So this speaks for big gains coming out of that as well. And now looking at the others chart on the monthly, it would be really great if the others chart could form a candle above this level, right? At least above this neckline for the cup and handle pattern. So you have this cup and handle, you have this breakout, and then basically you have the retest. You have a huge indecision here, but there's also 6 days and 9 hours to go until we reach that point. So in my opinion, there's going to be a lot of upside. Massive gains are going to come in Q1 and Q2. For Bitcoin, I think we need to be vigilant, but I think there's more upside to come as well. We are going to look at the RSI, at all these indicators, and check out how they are behaving over the next couple of weeks and months. We're going to narrow it down at the moment in Christmas, New Year's time, maybe not on a daily basis, but then from the new year on, also on the daily basis, again with crypto morning coffee and videos. So make sure to smash up the like button right now if you enjoy this analysis. Let me know in the comments below what you think about all of this, all about the news, about the sentiment in the market. And I wish you all still a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year if you are not tuning into the next videos that are about to come. And wherever you are on the world, have a great morning, evening, day, night, or afternoon. I catch you in the next video or live stream. Bye.